Rosie, your chilli really cleaned me out. All my sinuses are nice and clean and I'm open and feeling alive. The only thing, if it had a little bit of meat in it, it would have been so much better, but it was really, really good. Now, what I'm going to do is up the meat steaks. I'm going to do what slow braising is all about. I've got some beautiful grass-fed chuck here, and what I'm going to do is make a slow braised ragu with the beef chuck, and then I'm going to put it together with some pappardelle. It's a beautiful dish.
Right.
Now, I've got a whole lot of vegetables here and a whole lot of things that are going to go into it, but what I'm going to do is cut this open and season my meat. The most important thing when you are cooking meat, and I say it all the time, you need to season the meat because that is the most important part, because no one cares about the vegetables. It's the meat they care about, and you want to make sure that that meat is seasoned to perfection. Some salt on there and some pepper, plenty of that, because you want to make sure it's nice and delicious. And see, this grass-fed Australian beef even comes in its own seasoning pack. That's the idea behind it. Now, what I've got is my big pan here, and it's really hot. So as soon as I add the oil here, it's going to start smoking. Yeah, that's sizzling beautifully. So in goes the beef. You want to be able to seal off the meat. You want that sear. You want that golden brown on the outside. That sizzle.
Yeah.
You know exactly what I mean, don't you?
know.
We've been working together for a while now, and you're saying to, am I saying to brainwash you with all this stuff now?
Well, not quite.
See those mushrooms
Yes.
there? That nice small paring knife. I want you to slice the mushrooms nice and thin. And what I'm going to do is slice these onions nice and thin, all the way through here like that. Is it smelling good? You love the smell of that beef, don't you?
Smells lovely.
Now, I've got some bacon fat here, and what I do is I just tear off the rind here like this, because the rind has got that layer of fat on it, and it's got the flavour. We don't want to waste anything. So what I'm going to do is pop that into the pan there.
Yep.
You'll hear that sizzling away, because that's going to give it some flavour. We're going to render it down. Now, you could, of course, put, and I will do that rind into the ragu as it cooks down. And look at that bacon. You can tell this is going to be a great dish. When I'm putting bacon in there and I've got beef chuck as well, you know things are going to come together beautifully. Don't you think?
It's getting quite meaty, isn't it?
It is. And that's the idea.
Oh, right.
Now, this is rocking along here. That's up nice and high. I'll make sure I turn it to maximum velocity, because we want lots of sizzle. And in goes the bacon into the pan. You can hear that sizzle going on there. Now, you can see this meat's browning off beautifully, and what I'll do is I'll turn the meat over. You can see they've got that brown crust over there. Really important. That's what locks in the flavour, seals the juices in there, and gives it a great flavour as well. So what I'll do is I'll turn that over, so I brown the other side. Now, these carrots over here I'm going to chop, and because you love chilli so much, I'm going to get you to chop that chilli up.
No problem.
I was almost thinking not to put the chilli in at all, but that would be
you can handle more.
That would just be taking it easy, taking the easy way out, wouldn't it? Now, I've got some carrot here as well, and you'll be pleased to see that the ratio of vegetable to meat is quite good.
I didn't notice, yes.
There's a lot more veggies in there than meat, and that's one of the things I've been saying for years. You know, we should be eating more veggies and better quality meat. Now, in go the bay leaves, 2 bay leaves, and a couple of carrots that have been diced up as well. You can imagine that all this, as it cooks together, is going to add some beautiful flavour to it. Look at that. Turn that around like that. Now, the mushrooms, I'm just going to pop straight in on top of the beef. And in goes the chilli as well. Now, if you can pass me those chopped tomatoes, what I'm going to do is turn that around and pop my veggies straight on top there. And I'm going to put the liquids in here. So I've got some chopped tomatoes, and you can use the leftover tomatoes that are in your fridge, maybe the ones that are a bit squishy. In goes the red wine, about a cup of that. Some chicken stock, about 2 cups of chicken stock. And in that other jug over there, Rosie, I've got some tomato passata. There we go. I've got about 1 litre of passata. Now, what I'm going to do, Rosie, is pop the lid on this and I'll let it simmer away. I'm going to let it simmer for about 1.5 hours to 2 hours, really, really gently. And what will happen is the veggies will cook, the meat will become nice and tender. Now, by the time that's done, I'll take the meat out, pull it apart, I'll put a pot of water on to boil up some pasta, and I'll be able to put the meat, the sauce, the vegetables and the pasta together with a bit of Parmesan cheese on top. This will be delicious. All right, Rosie, you can see the meat is nice and tender, and see how it just falls apart?
It does.
What I did is I took it out of the sauce and let it sit there, cool down a little bit, and just chop through with a knife a couple of times, and it just falls apart. Now, what I'm going to do is pop a little bit into the pan here, because this is where I'm going to put the pasta. There's a bit of heat in that pan, and the rest of it I'll just pop back into the sauce here and let it go all the way through. Now, the trick with it is, I'll pop this over here, is not to let this meat simmer away too much in the sauce, otherwise it becomes really stringy. So I'll grab some of this sauce now, and you can see plenty of veggies in here. The pan's probably a little bit hot, but that's okay. We'll be able to cool the pan down. And this is Rich Show's patented method of cooling pans down when they're really hot like this. I just take some of this stuff, which is often called butter. And what I do is as I put it in like that, it actually cools the pan down. You can hear it cooling down nicely.
Yeah.
It's an amazing thing.
I'd probably choose thyme.
Thyme is probably...
Not the herb, but thyme.
By letting it cool down.
Instead of the butter?
I find it's a much better way of doing it, much more efficient, and it's worked straight away. Now, my pasta's been cooking here for about 10 minutes, and look at that.
Look at that.
This is a great little pappardelle. It's got the little ribbons on the side, or little wrinkles there, and what I'm going to do is pop that in there. You find those little wrinkle bits, they help to pick up the sauce, and what I do is I just pull it straight out of the pot here like this. Just take that off there like that. It's looking good, isn't it? Now, you might want to just take half a step back because I'll just toss this around like that. Look at that. The butter in there, the parsley, the sauce, the ragu, the meat, the mushrooms, all those lovely things coming together. And a little trick is to actually let it sit there for a couple of minutes because that pasta will soak up those juices. But we're not going to wait at all. I want to get into this because this is what reminds me of my nonna's cooking. Now, grab that bowl over there. I'll just put that straight into there. What I do is I take the pasta out first and I just stand back because I know it's going to go everywhere. Look at it. It's a bit splashy. And then I put the meat on top there. Look at that ragu. Now, over there you have some cheese.
Sure do.
Put some cheese on top of that, baby. And I'm starting to sweat. Now, I wonder if it's the chilli or the anticipation of getting into this ragu with this pasta. Low, slow cooking. Look how it can be used for good and not evil. This meat has been turned into a fantastic dish. It falls apart, and I want to share with you how good this is. And I can smell the flavour in there, the wine, all those bits of bacon have all worked together to make this a beautiful dish. And this is why I'm going to win this episode. I am going to be the champion of slow cooking because this dish pushes it over the edge. I think you'd have to say it's a fantastic dish. What do you think?
The sauce is delicious. The pasta is cooked perfectly al dente. But I'm sorry, but my vegan chili made you sweat. I think that was the best one.
You can dream as long as you want.